Buffalo is a city with heart, a place of resilience, culture, and deep community ties. But it is also a city where too many of our young people face barriers. No family support, no mentor, no childcare, no safe environment. Some ride buses across the city just to reach opportunity. Others struggle with homelessness. This is the state of Buffalo today.
Listen, I love our city. Our city is full of such rich history, especially for African American people. It was a huge hub in the civil rights movement. It was the home of some of the most affluent Black leaders of that movement. Jefferson was like the Black Wall Street for a long time, right? We're the home of electricity because of the Erie Canal. And so it's a beautiful city and it's very rich. And I think sometimes we miss that because unfortunately, the disparities in our city are also very big.
Over the last 10 years or so, 10 plus years, the city of Buffalo has been going through somewhat of a renaissance, right? We saw a lot of economic activity and economic development happening here in the city of Buffalo. It kind of started downtown and started to work its way out.
Buffalo has some tremendous assets, truly. We have numerous higher education institutions. We have beautiful natural resources in the form of both freshwater and every part of the economy is reflected in Erie County, an agricultural sector, an industrial sector, healthcare sector. We have tremendous assets. Arts and architecture are all thriving here. But we also have some very, very significant challenges.
Just our community and this legacy of segregation, and there's just such a disconnect between our young people who are coming from the school district and a lot of folks who are leading in these organizations.
I think Buffalo can be a resource-rich community in many ways, although there's always been pockets of greatness. Good programs here, good programs there that can serve 50 students, 30 students. A student might find that mentor that really impacts him or her through an after-school program. Many young people are deeply grateful for the work of nonprofits in this community, working in after-school, in housing, and education, and reading, and youth athletics. There's also other agencies working with our veterans and other important causes to help people. I think this is a community that wants to help, that can, do our best to lift each other up. That said, this can be a complicated town in many ways. I think there is definitely a history of racial and economic segregation, right? And at the end of the day, I think the work that we're all responsible for is allowing people to earn some type of post-secondary credential that leads to a good job, that can remove many of the challenges that we just discussed. And I don't think that's pie in the sky. I think it's doable for everybody to have a pathway to a certificate and a good paying job in our community so that they can live here, work here, raise a family here, and contribute to our community both economically and socially.
If you listen closely, youth will tell you what they need, audibly or in their behavior. Safe places to go, consistent mentorship, reliable transportation, access to mental health care, and child care for their own children. They need family support, and when family is not available, they need community.
There isn't as many opportunities for them to understand how to get those jobs.
When it comes to the youth, if we can break the barrier of silencing their voice, then we'll be able to understand exactly what it is that they need. We'll be able to understand exactly what it is that is required for us to make the essential impact over their lives.
I think that every young person deserves a chance to be able to speak, and I don't believe we're taught that. And so to me, it's kind of like throwing everybody in the pool and seeing who swims. And I believe there's a lot of young people who look like me who are behind prison or under the ground purely because they didn't have the words to say. So
I feel like given the proper tools to succeed, we might, but without the guidance, it's almost like, having a plan or like seeing like the blueprint for it, I feel like guidance is one of the main things that you need.
We mostly are on our phones all the time, and we don't really know how to socialize besides us texting or calling somebody.
You need an older person with like a good head on their shoulders. Like, it just can't be anybody. You need somebody who can represent you, who you can talk to, you feel free to experience.
I'm autistic, so, with me working, it's kind of hard for me to like just jump into new spaces. And I feel like, just depending on who's around me, it will definitely like affect what's going on around, especially when working. And just again, that patience part, like just people having a little more patience towards me, because I know my mind can be everywhere at once at times. So yeah.
Taking that extra step that some people don't notice is required for some youth, because they don't have that figure in their life to really teach them the right way to go.
We want youth to come with brilliant ideas. Nobody wants to hear my old ideas all the time. Come with some fresh ideas, a fresh perspective.
I think it's too often where they may find themselves in spaces where others see themselves as the expert and you're young, so you don't know. Let me teach you and let me tell you. And we have to stop that. Yes, we do. I fully believe as elders and elders, we have something to teach and we have something to learn.
Sometimes the youth opinion could kind of makes more sense sometimes, like than an adult opinion, because they're knowing from what they grew up on, and it's not the same from what they grew up on, and it's like different times now. So I feel like the youth opinion should like definitely matter, because if not, then you really want to know, because adults just think everything they think is right, and sometimes it be totally wrong in the time and age that it is now. So yes, youth opinions definitely matter.
You need to be open and willing to ask questions and to take feedback.
So if I'm 51, so my influence is somewhere between 70s and in the 30s, which becomes challenging for, some leaders who still think they are young. I got that, you're young in spirit, you feel it, but the truth of the matter is the relevance of your leadership, it becomes challenging because you don't understand the language. You don't understand the technology. You don't understand what they're dealing with. Yes, there's nothing new under the sun, but trust me, there's some things that I would not ever have imagined would be happening in such a young age.
You have to think about the impact of COVID. You have to think about the isolation that we went through as a nation. And then you have to think about how everything was converted in terms of how we went about doing and accomplishing our work. A lot of things went online. A lot of folks worked from home. Students were schooled from home. There was a complete upheaval in what we would normally have called the normal way of doing things.
We was all stuck in one house using Zoom the whole time to connect with teachers or like interviews or anything. That's why we don't know how to have a face-to-face conversation with someone.
I think we are expecting kids to come out of high school with a grasp on the local economy, and that's not the case. It wasn't the case for me either. I took majors in college that my mother picked for me.
I think we kind of forget that we're all navigating life for the first time. And so you may be a little harder on yourself depending on the situation, but
we can talk labels. But what is it, the work that is really being done by these individuals? I'm more positive related and drawn. I would prefer to hear success coach. Hey, I'm gonna work with you. What is it that you're interested in? What can I do to help you achieve your goals? We're here to help the youth. We're not here to tell the youth A, B, C, D, and if you don't do this, it's not gonna work for you. The youth are the experts in their own lives. They are the ones that have to make the determinations and the choices. What we have to do is provide them the resources to make effective decisions in their life, not make the decisions for them.
Mentorship is more than guidance. It's seeing something in someone before they can see it in themselves. For many, having a mentor can mean the difference between giving up and growing forward. Real mentorship is about showing up consistently, genuinely, and with heart. The kind of mentorship that says, I've been where you are, and I'll walk with you until you find your way. Those once received guidance from leaders like Tommy McClam are now giving it, standing in the gap for the next generation.
And so the problem is no longer gone are the days where you see what I do, hear what I do, but I don't partake in your life outside of this. And so it'll be essential for young people to experience individuals who went through what they went through and are successful in it and understand their day-to-day lives behind the scenes. What is your life behind the scenes? That's building that relationship. That's building that trust. That's giving the opportunity for that young person to say, listen, this man is who he says he is, and he made it out.
It could have been a problem. It could have been, I could have just wanted to roam the halls or something, but it's just me being a bad influence, wanting to do other things too, because I've seen other people do it, so it's like, okay, come on, we can do it, so why not?
Young people find themselves isolated and looking for someone to like pat them on the shoulder and say it's going to be all right. When you seek this support from the wrong entities, it's sending you down the wrong path. And I feel like the lack of support builds up isolation amongst one person, and from there you just don't know where you're going to go or what you can do. And it's harder for you to want to reach out when you get to that point because you feel like you've been let down for so much and for so long. So I think if there was just a constant support, a beacon of light that these young people just can go to and be like, okay, you know what you need, you know you're gonna get it, and somebody's not gonna let you go and leave you astray.
I do think if we want to push the youth to success, we need more leaders in our communities guiding these young individuals to that.
Well, I originally met Jarrell Mason at Bennett High School. I was a speaker at an assembly at Bennett High School, and the auditorium was full of young black and brown young people. And at that point, we were actually talking about just life. And so as I was there actually giving that talk, at the end there was a young lady in there, and she talked about her mother being on crack. Her mother was crack addicted. And the auditorium started laughing when she did that. And it kind of, for me, it kind of like disturbed me because I looked around the audience and I saw some other young people who I knew their parents were in a similar situation. And I kind of, at that point, went off script and just stopped and said, at this point, a lot of you are in the same situation as this young lady. And I asked her to come forward, and she came up, and I remember giving her a hug, and then she just started crying. But I also realized when she started crying, there was a bunch of other folks in the audience also that were crying also because they were in the same situation. And I think part of, as we were talking about doing youth work, youth development work, youth ministry, whatever you want to call it, it's walking a young person through a lot of the ups and downs and the trials. And so that young lady, after she had a seat after that, we all kind of stood around. We ended the program. The young people come forward and they ask you a few questions. And I noticed that there was a young, short black man that was standing, the black young man. And I looked, and he waited, and then he walked up to me, and it was Jarrell Mason. And he asked me a few questions, and I said, well, let's meet, let's talk. And I said, well, let's talk tomorrow. And we gave the place, so we were supposed to meet the next day. But I also looked in his eyes, and I could see that he didn't believe I would be there. And so the next day, I actually showed up, sat down, and he wasn't there. What went through my mind is that he had blown me off. And so, but after a while, I looked at the door, and he came to the door, and that's when we began kind of the mentoring relationship that started. And I think mentoring. I sometimes don't like to use the word just mentoring, because mentoring in communities of color takes on a kind of a different role, because sometimes mentoring could also lead to fathering.
So Tommy and I met way back in 2015-16, and he was over at Open Buffalo, and I went through Emerging Leaders. I was in the second cohort of Emerging Leaders at Open Buffalo. Tommy was the person that kind of engineered the matching of the emerging leaders with a mentor, and Tommy actually became my mentor because we had a lot in common formally through the program, right? And I remember our first sit down was think at that Washington Market spot that used to be on Washington Street. You probably been there before. And he asked me during that first meeting he asked me, how long do you want this relationship to last? And me, I just thought it was just gonna last through the formal program, the emerging leaders. But I told him, I wanted it to last for as long as it possibly can. Tommy planted the seeds in young people that he was working with, right? Like yourself, like myself, Sherman, Antoine, and a plethora of other young men in this community that are doing amazing work. And now, one of the things we actually had this conversation, you're starting to see where we're coming together and we're looking for ways that we can work together to bring impact and change to our community. So that's just the power of one person. It's a perfect example of how one person can pour into a number of individuals and see the fruits of his labor over time, right? We're in a space where we work with young people. We may not see the fruits of our labor right away, but now we're starting to see how all of us, while we might have different personalities and different ambitions, running different programs, we might have ambitions outside of work, but when we have those commonalities, it's better for the community as a whole. And that's how you transform and change the landscape of a community, especially in Buffalo.
Seeing the young men that you worked with over the years collaborate, for me, has been the ultimate for me. To see Jarrell Mason, to see you working with young men and young women and seeing them progress through life, to see Daniel Robertson, who are Boys and Men of Colors, working with that initiative, to see a Davon, who he's working with young people on the west side, and see Antoine, who's working with the Fatherhood Initiative for young men, and all of you working together and not worrying about who's getting the credit, but you're just in there in the grind. And not only are you guys working together, but from my appearance, it seemed like you also actually like each other, right? And so you get along. And so I think for me, that would be more so as I step back I realize more of a father role.
But you cannot tell me anyone in this world that has not gotten to where they are or found success in the things that they've done without being helped or accessing some resource.
But even like getting a driver's license, right? Or trying to get into your first apartment, we assume that they have someone at home who can help them with that, but what if they don't, right?
All of these things, it's family. And when you look at what Buffalo needs and these young people need sometimes, it's like we need family. We need to understand that we got each other's back.
And those experiences that they have give them the connection and the relationship. And just like that is with family, it's the same thing in business. If you want to go somewhere in business, you have to develop relationships. You have to be able to communicate with people.
For foster youth, stability and belonging are not always guaranteed. But through Buffalo Futures, foster youth are finding mentors, resources, and community that reminds them that they are not alone and their dreams matter.
The foster care system is something I believe that a lot of people don't recognize as a impacting thing in our community.
And as we know, young people's brains do not fully develop until after the age of 26. So if they're aging out between the ages of 18 and 21, and they've gone through trauma, so although they may be that specific age, they may be even younger mentally, how do we combat that? How do we still assist them without making them feel, embarrassed with asking certain questions?
Well, I was young, so all I remember is like people coming to our school asking us like, how is like our life at home, like what does my dad do for work, what does my mom do.
The CPS workers I had was really rough on me. Like, it wasn't no nice in them. It wasn't, yes, we can find you a different living environment, and until you and your dad get right. It wasn't that. It was, you have to go home. It wasn't, you cannot come back outside unless you're going to school. And they gave me a curfew and this, then.
I had my daughter at 15, so this was around the time when I felt like I needed my mom. Oh my gosh. I had my daughter at 15, so this was like a time where I needed my mom, like, you know, the most.
So I was diagnosed as emotionally handicapped on clinically on paper, and I was labeled a failure to thrive. Being a 80s baby, that was a normal label that you would give a child who is being raised or birthed by someone who is, you know, taking drugs.
Like 14 to 21, I was in like the foster care system, and you know, things were rough, and I am actually still trying to really learn how to live after even being in the system. Oh, it affects me. It affects me a lot because if I'm honestly speaking, I am still trying to get a grip of life and how it should be properly ran. There's no handbook to it. I just think, you know, if I would have had a normal childhood, maybe my adulthood would have been different, and maybe I would have thought different, maybe did things differently, you know, in life. Physically, I'm not where I want to be, so physically it kind of put me back 10 steps. As an adult, still trying to fight from past things, you know, and still trying to get a grip of adulthood because as a kid that was taken from me.
Usually, like, when you're at the age of aging out of care, you have like monthly meetings to, like, you know, get you ready to leave care, right, and get everything in order for you. So I had like one of my last monthly meetings, and they were just like throwing out all these like programs and resources and everything like that. Fast forward to the week of my birthday, the week that I'm supposed to be moving out. Happy birthday. We don't have any good news. You're going to be homeless tomorrow. You have to, you know, figure out where you and your kids are going to sleep. Aging out of foster care, homeless, a lot of kids have gone through that. I am not the first one who have aged out of foster care by myself and was homeless, or rather I had children and was homeless. That's just what it is, a lot of kids. But what they kind of gave off was like, well, you're in a situation because you didn't do X, Y, and Z or something like that. And I feel like I wasn't necessarily in the situation of being homeless with my children because I was like on drugs, or like I just like neglected the fact that I had kids or anything like that. There was a lady down there, and she had asked me like, do you even have a high school diploma? And I'm like, yes, I graduated high school. Oh, that's good. Like, why looking at me would you not expect me to have graduated from high school? Is it because I have 2 children?
Very rude and nasty. If you don't have this, there's nothing. Oh, well, why you have this on? If you need help. A lot of judgment and things. So that affected me a lot because it's like, dig. They tell us that we have a place where we can turn when you are down, but when you go to turn to somebody like that, they treat you less than. And I just feel like that is kind of messed up because everyone have a hiccup in a row. They shouldn't get treated less than just because they need a little bit of help to get on their feet. It's very important. So when you're doing a job, to do it with love and care.
And just as faith offers grounding, art and culture offer expression. They give young people the space to be honest, creative, and whole. From music to murals, from poetry to film, art becomes a form of healing. Another way you've discovered their voice, their identity, and their power. When faith and creativity come together, something transformative happens. Youth don't just find support, they find belonging. They find a place to be heard, a place to be seen, and a place to grow. Whether it's a pastor who believes in them, a mentor who stands beside them, or a creative space where their story is celebrated, these moments become pathways to hope.
When it comes to young people, what we don't realize is that, the most forgotten individuals are young people and old people. And so a lot of times we forget about them because that's not who we have the time for. Sometimes we want to push them to the side because they got their own things going on, or we have our own things going on. But if you really take the time to invest in your young people, what you're doing is you're investing in the future. It's the same kind of concept as if you were investing your money into different stocks and annuities and RO3Bs, all of those things. You put something in to get something out. And so as a faith-based community, I think it's essential for us to assist in making those investments. And so that may look like creating programs within the church, for our young people, and not just Bible classes, but, opportunities for them to be poured into from different organizations like Buffalo Futures that come in and have conversations about what they're doing and how they can prepare them for the future.
I empower youth leaders, youth workers around me that have influence. They understand the language. They understand what's going on. They understand, how to talk and use the same lingo as they are using even in the high schools or in the grade schools. Because I am far removed from that. I can't tell you. Back in my day, we were saying, yeah, man, that's fresh. Oh, you bad. Ain't nobody saying that no more.
I think that all of that is important. I think you talked about that's people not being sure if that's a space that you can, the people get a little weird about being in a faith-based space. But if you think about the circle of influence, you have religion in that. There's faith. Faith is an anchor. It's a belief in something. When you believe in something and you commit yourself to those values and standards, you create strength and foundation.
First of all, the arts are important because no successful social movement ever happened without the arts. Be it literature or poetry or music, or visual arts or graphic arts, right? No successful social change ever occurred without an integration of the arts. And that's really what we're after here. We're after, helping a population of young people in our city be fully included in this city, be fully seen as belonging in the city. They belong here. Their future belongs here. And that's going to require, an element of change that only, the arts can really fully bring about.
Art is a language, and every medium is another dialect to speak. And so the reason why I believe it's important to create, space or create opportunities for young people is because, or within the arts specifically, because it allows for them to speak a different language.
Music is a strong and powerful force that is in the earth, and it has the ability to shift and change our moods. It has the ability, as they say, to change the atmosphere. It has the ability to even, they said music will calm the beast that's what's inside. So we can use music in a plethora of ways that will benefit not just the old, but the young.
I believe Buffalo Futures in this podcast has done an incredible job of helping to center youth voice in a number of different ways. First, I think it's been able to empower young individuals to be able to know that they have a voice, right?
When we first started, just me and Jarrell, we knew we wanted to get a podcast out there, being that we wanted to connect with the youth. And this was a way that was trending, as well as everyone that's a youth is watching podcasts, whether it's for mental, physical, spiritual, just financial. We want to gain something out of this, or just watching our famous celebrities. So in that, we're like, okay, well, how do we do this? What is the audience that we're trying to get to? What do we want to promote as we go along? And so our podcast is the Buffalo Futures Getting Ahead podcast, where we center youth voice to create a stronger youth network for the youth in the community. And so in that, we just wanted to make sure we were continuing to strengthen and center youth voice. And so that means getting youth on the podcast, as well as getting different organizations that work with youth to then speak on their behalf and how they've experienced youth in their ways and how they've been trying to help and what resources are still available. So it's always, the podcast is to always come back to the youth. And so it's organizations just helping us say, what are you providing in your organization for them, right? And how can they access it?
It's really about, as I was mentioning, like that amplification, talking to these young people, listening to their stories, listening to the things that they're going through.
Our young people are the experts of their own experience. Foster youth, justice impacted youth, youth navigating mental health struggles. Their stories are filled with resilience and vision, but also with the weight of barriers no young person should have to carry alone.
I have opinions. I have thoughts and choices. Because sometimes they're just not regarded. They're just not heard.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's my decision. I mean, if I pick the wrong decision, I'm gonna learn from it. And you live and you learn.
Because this is a different generation, and the adults, they don't really understand us. I also think as a Black young woman who is also 16, that's a lot of judgment before I even meet somebody. It makes it harder to get to the spots that I want to unless people already know me. And it's okay, let's not judge me because of what I am or who I am. Let's judge me off of what I can do. Ask me to do a task, see how I do it, and then judge me.
Because of my age, and they probably think of the experience, I may not have the amount of experience for that position. They may not take it as serious as other candidates that may have been in the field much longer than I have, or in their age,
Young people have leadership and the autonomy to create, but also the supports and the investment, we see results.
Some of them don't care. So it's if they're not trying, they're never gonna get it because they don't care enough to. But I feel like the ones that do, I feel like they just need that extra step to see it. Yeah, they just need that extra step. It could be put in your face and you could read it, see it, but still don't take the effort to do it. And then sometimes I feel like some youth just don't get to hear it or see it or, really take it in or nothing like that.
One of the struggles I had was trying to constantly have to prove myself because of my age. And this is the struggle that many young people in the city of Buffalo have, that are trying to get somewhere. And the crazy thing is, you hear the saying, you can't tell been there how to get there. That's true. But I can tell you that there's a different kind of vehicle that we can use that maintains that road.
Being a youth that was incarcerated for a couple months, it does feel like that I've still been stigmatized and put in the category of he's a young Black male that goes to jail.
Some of them, they're not strong-minded enough to keep going and keep trying to figure it out, so yeah, that's why I feel like some of them just don't care sometimes. There's a lot of mental problems that's going on right now, and they feel like that adults don't understand us at all. I feel like we need more comfort to feel vulnerable. And
for me, myself growing up, mental health and stuff, that's something I struggle with in my household, and that wasn't talked about in my household. So now that I'm 24 and I do need it at this age now, it's just getting out there to get the help that I need. Really, that's what it is. It's resources out there, but it's more so just letting go and getting the help that you need so that you can be your best self.
The last two are a little bit more.
I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. You're okay. Is it the nerves?
Are you okay? If you want to stop, we can stop.
No,
It's all right. Is it the nerves or is it just the topics?
Yeah, I just never talked about stuff like this, so.
Sometimes it could have been negative influences. Sometimes it could have been positive, but it could have been me sometimes too. It wasn't always my friends. It was probably me sometimes. I could have probably been that negative influence. Well, the final time I got suspended, it was like I was expelled. I couldn't even go back to school anymore. Like they dropped me from school, so I knew like it time was over, I would never been able to go back to school. But I tried to re-sign up back for school, and they would not let me. So it was like, I feel like if I was in a different environment, in a different place at the time, I probably would have grew up as a better kid. Probably someone better, something better. Like I would be in school right now, but I'm not.
I've been put in categories that because I do have a child, that I'm a young black father, I'm a kid where I've heard that I was a kid raising a kid. I didn't know what I was doing.
Sean has just made some poor decisions over life, and I think that's part of mentoring also. How do you stay with a young person when they make poor decisions? And sometimes those poor decisions could be it could be a number of poor decisions right behind each other. And so Sean was a young man. Sean is a young man that I've watched matriculate and then stall. And then he matriculate and stall. Because all young people aren't going to be the ones that's going to be their shooting stars, that's going to get it the first time and take off to be into the lights. Some of them, they still struggle. And they still struggle pulling pieces together. And Sean, over time, what I watched him do, he started college and then he stalled. Then he back in college and he stalled. He had a child and then he had another child and he stalled. And he got himself caught up in just things that he really didn't have to. But during that time, it was something that he was still looking for someone who wouldn't give up on him.
Ended up trying to do a couple things, and it led me and getting in trouble and going to jail.
I think it's more important than not only that we just invest, like from a financial standpoint, but that we show our faces, we get involved.
When wealthy people ask for help, it's called networking. And when regular people ask for help, it's somehow a combination of handouts and welfare. And that's utter nonsense.
The framework was there. The Youth Employment Coalition made sure of that.
Came in a little bit after the concept was created. So in 2019, the Youth Employment Coalition came together, which is a subgroup of the Racial Equity Roundtable through the Community Foundation. And so they did all that work, thankfully enough, before I got here to where they organized what the program would be, the mobile first platform, and me coming in May, and we ended up launching July 25th.
Right, and I started 20 days before we launched, just getting the website together, reaching out to employers and training providers, and just overall getting our hub space together.
The idea of Buffalo Futures can take many different forms, but at the end, what's most important is that it's a connector to individuals who need something. And that connector is trusting people that are committed to the people that they're working with.
I think that being able to have just a portal of different resources to be able to access is definitely helpful because it's all in one place, which is nice.
No other program in the country, I think, exists that has something like that youth readily available can go to. You know, I pride ourselves on the fact that we're first.
Or night, my junior year in college at Buffalo State, I think it was a Friday night, me and some friends, we went to go out, have a good night on the town on Chippewa. We went to a club called Venue. It was me, one of my guy friends, and then we had two of our girlfriends with us. And we were in Venue, we were drinking, having a good time. One of the girls actually started to feel unwell. She started to throw up, and one of the bouncers at Venue saw her throwing up, and due to that, he had told her she had to leave and go home. So us just being good friends, we called the Uber for them, and then we were taking them outside of Venue to put her in her Uber so that she could go home. But we couldn't find the Uber at first because it was packed. I think it was a Friday night, like I said, and it was like a bunch of commotion, a bunch of things going on. So we spent around like 3 to 5 minutes looking for the Uber. Once we finally found the Uber, I had the girl, I tried to open the door wouldn't open. So then I tried to get the attention of the Uber driver, and all I could see him waving was like, he's like, no. So in my head, I'm like, what's going on with this guy? So I'll go around to his side of the car, and then I go around, I'm on the driver's seat, and then I see like on the left side of his face, he's bleeding. It's a bunch of blood. So in my head, I'm like, oh shoot. But I'm still trying to get the girl in the car. I'm like, this is her Uber. Before I do anything else, 2 officers, they come behind me. They're like, excuse me, sir, step away from the car. I tell them this is my Uber, like step away from the car. Knowing the history with black people and the police, I just moved away. They then asked the Uber driver, "Are you the one who called in the assault?" He said yes. They asked him who did it. He points at me. So now I'm in shock. I'm like, no. I didn't touch him. I asked him again, right? They're like, excuse me, sir, put your hands behind your back, right? So that's why, like, the name of my current brand is called Due Process. I didn't receive fair treatment. So they said, put your hands behind your back. And I tugged at first. And they was like, don't resist. And then I was like, okay. So then I just complied. They put me back in the back of the police wagon. I'm telling them to the whole time, I'm like, yo, I didn't do this. I don't have any blood on me. The guy was bleeding a lot, right? So if I had touched him, I'd have had some type of blood on me or on my clothes somewhere, right? All of my friends, they were screaming like, he didn't do this, right? They didn't care about any of that. They didn't care what I had to say. They took the guy's word for it, and they took me to the booking station downtown. I definitely believe that race played the factor in this case because it was like a case of, it's that black guy, right? Even though he was hit in the face and he may have been dazed and confused, it's no excuse to just point at somebody and potentially ruin their life off of you, assuming that they did something to you, right? So I definitely believe that the color of my skin played the factor in me being mistreated in this situation.
I love that we're able to highlight Khadijah's story. It was really a wonderful process to get to know her. And from my role in HR, I knew the backstory. I had been working with Buffalo Futures. I had been working with Say Yes. I had a little bit of an idea of Khadijah's story, but I felt very strongly about not putting that at the forefront of her interview process. I allowed Khadijah to shine on her own and really earn that position on her own. I think that helped her confidence going into the role. And it wasn't until some of Khadijah's external challenges were coming up that we even had the conversation with anyone. After making sure that Khadijah was comfortable sharing that, we tried to just illuminate the external struggles that Khadijah was facing and tie that to the resources that we already had in place at our organization for all of our associates.
To funders, this work is not charity. It is an investment. An investment in stronger families, safer neighborhoods, and a generation prepared to lead. Supporting Buffalo Futures means supporting Buffalo itself.
I feel like the people that got the money should invest into the mental of the people, of us, and also workforce development. I feel like there should be more groups like Buffalo Futures helping in the community. Like, yo, how long you been doing this and you want to go to your career? Or come in here and write down your 5-year plan or your 10-year plan and see where you could go.
I think the federal government largely abandoned the kind of support that urban communities like the city of Buffalo needed. And as a consequence, we have, among the worst childhood poverty rates in the country. Nearly 1 out of every 2 children in the city of Buffalo is living in poverty. And those kinds of challenges really require, big action on the part of the federal government that we have not seen significant support from.
Buffalo Futures was born out of both urgency and hope. It began as the work of the Youth Employment Coalition created by the Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo. That coalition asked a powerful question. What would it take for Buffalo's youth to thrive?
Buffalo Futures, which is meant to put teens and young adults on the path to a brand new career.
And it was looking beyond just the success of getting a job or obtaining an education. It was looking at the mental health and the well-being of a person.
I feel like an organization that services the youth should be able to connect them to all of those links. It should be like a tree with branches, and you're here for help. And we can help you here, but go here for this one.
I think what makes Buffalo Futures unique is, one, starting out with the staff and the concepts that you all are bringing to the table. you have a staff of individuals that have come from similar backgrounds, have had similar experiences as the folks that you're serving. And I think that cannot be undersold. That has to be fully understood, that when you have individuals in places of influence that have an understanding of the challenges that the community that they're helping has gone through, that makes all the difference, because then there's some unspoken things that happen. There's some I'll say, cultural nuances that are conveyed even without words.
Yeah, so after doing the DISC assessment with the Buffalo's future staff, we kind of found a split between the staff, a good split. Half the staff are extremely action-oriented and have 1,000 ideas, and the other staff are a little bit more methodical. They take their time, they want to make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, all the data and information is there, everybody knows what's happening. And so you have this powerful creative tension that I think is really critical to their success. And
went on the project as a gaffer to work the lighting. But it wasn't until I got here and sort of saw firsthand what it is that you guys are doing that I really realized how impactful and also how hands-on it is. Like, truth be told, when you first were telling me about this and you were showing me the pictures from the office, I thought I was gonna come in here and it's gonna be like, oh, there's gonna be like 30 people, it's gonna be like a giant amount of people, and it's gonna be like more corporate-y. But then I came in here and it's like, oh no, this is actually very, very hands-on and very, you're interacting with the youth.
From meeting with Jarrell, I was like, all right, so he wants this. He knows what he wants too, like.
Very structured, type A, very detail-oriented processes. It really helped as we look to formulate various approaches and activities that would speak to our people and make them want to come into the space so that we can have important conversations that would lead down the path to mental wellness.
If we're working on something, he's like, I don't like that. It might give you a headache, but we're gonna get there. And then when you see it and we work there together and you tell him, hey, we just gotta do this, he's understanding though too, is what people don't highlight. So if we're not able to get something, he's like, all right, well, let's try to work around it. And then, so we find a workaround, but we get that done. Like, we get the goal done, we get the message across, and we get exactly what we need. And with a project like this, I feel like that's great to have because it's also showing a message for the youth.
They may come to an organization and say, these are the things that I need, and that organization is not able to link them to another organization.
This work is only possible because Buffalo is working together. Leaders like Davone Patterson of Open Buffalo, Ash Watson of Real Talk Bridges, Daniel Robertson of Say Yes Buffalo, and countless faith-based partners and organizations all stand with Buffalo Futures to say, we believe in our young people.
I think having platforms like Buffalo Futures and even the work that you're doing on the communication side of things and really amplifying, youth workforce development, those things are really important because I think the more people start to understand and learn about all of these resources that take place here, the more they're going to want to get involved, get their loved ones or their friends and family involved as well. And then I think overall that's just going to, just change the entire landscape of the city altogether once people really start taking advantage of all of the resources that are offered here in the city.
We have a great opportunity right now with the young leaders, and I still consider us young leaders, that are in that 30 to 45 range that have amazing ideas and have amazing influence, especially from a social standpoint, where if we all come together and sit down and identify what we want this city to be, we could actually turn the tides of what our community looks like.
I think Buffalo Futures has helped me come out my shell a little bit more, get more comfortable with interacting with people, networking, letting people know about the program has helped me just want to randomly pick up a person and be like, hey, Buffalo Futures. It's helped me like become more outspoken.
They're there to help you. It's great support, you know, there's no judgment-free zone. You know, it's like a family here. Like, you find a place where you belong, definitely, Buffalo Futures.
We look at Buffalo Futures and our relationship as developing into a true partnership to help youth successfully find employment and retain that employment as well. So the hiring process itself didn't differ that much to what we normally do for any of our candidates, but what we did have through Buffalo Futures is that additional support for our candidates to help clarify communication, clarify expectations, and just that true partner to help give more support to that youth that we were interacting with.
I feel that most of all, it's given me experience in going to like work events, being in an office situation or surrounding. I feel that it's giving me experience cooperating and working with other people, especially meeting more professional deadlines.
I would say programs like Breaking Barriers and also Buffalo Futures are essential for young people in this day and age, just because it gives them a space where they can feel safe and a space where they can begin to elevate their voices and talk about what's really going on, things that are impacting them, and tell us as adults what they need.
Resources like Buffalo Futures allows us to see that opening, see that box not being 4 squares.
This is something that we need for our community. I feel like they have everything that they need for youth as far as helping them with jobs, different milestones in their life.
And programs like Buffalo Futures bridges the gap between those individuals that need help and the companies that want to get help. And so programs like this, I think, are absolutely essential to the success, not only of the business community, but also of the individuals in the community that can help and benefit from it.
Buffalo Futures has helped me make sure I'm on time, and it's helped me see how an actual business meeting is ran, and how also events are planned, and it has helped me be more, I guess, open with people as far as talking to people.
But I actually wanted to work a purposeful job, where it had meaning to it. And so when I met Jarrell and he was like, oh, I have a position available and you're actually gonna be, I was like, this is great. It was just new to me. And once I experienced it, I was like, oh, these are actually people. These are actually the people that I just heard about, right? We hear them on the news, this person works here, this person works there. But it's me meeting these people, meeting the president of ECC. And I'm like, that's a real person. A president of Say Yes and all these different things. It's oh, these are real people. I'm actually meeting them in person. And so I think it was really, it was a great opportunity to be able to meet and see all these different people and then see the work.
I wanted to be more involved as a youth council. But before that, I just wanted to get into school. And Tiara was the first person to, contact me about getting into Buffalo Futures. Yes, it was a lot of sessions. I was able to connect with many different people on different levels. There was fun parties, fun foods, different opportunities for me to do that I never did before. I saw different things that I never saw before. And it was just a different experience that a lot of people don't get to experience on a regular day-to-day basis.
I believe that Buffalo Futures will help me grow professionally by helping me get in contact with these employers so I can start at a place in my life so that I can get some sort of income right now, really.
I don't know, y'all know how to build a person. Build a person's self-esteem and get them on the right track of thinking. You know how to help them mold themselves into a more professional way. And I feel like professionally y'all can help because you guys, you find the resources and you put it in our face for us to handle. So it's if we looking for a job, somebody will go search up a whole bunch of jobs, different jobs that you can get into, and all you have to do is apply. All you have to do is show up. So I feel like that's how you guys help us. You help us with the clothing to wear, with good clothes to wear so that we could get the job. You know, sometimes y'all even tell us what to say so that we know, like, okay, this gonna get us in there.
So speaking to the creation of the YAC Council and why it was important to our program is that we wanted, again, to center youth voice, but how can we build a program for what the youth need, but not asking the youth? We have a pinpoint thing, but it's been the experience in its entirety. I think I've just been able to experience so many things that were just so new to me. Just the organization in general and the people from multiple different organizations, just going to Atlanta, going to different conferences. It's like, as I said, a world that was unknown to me. And so it's all been a great journey because every single day is something new. And so one of our biggest things was that, like, don't do anything about us without us, right? And so we wanted to ask the youth and get them on the council. And so at first we wanted a group of like 12 to 15, and then we like went and veered just to like 10, but in that we wanted to create a nice family-oriented group where it's like you can be able to express your needs, and this is a safe space for you, as well as just knowing that we want to hear you. That's how we're going to build this program, right? We're not going to build it based off of what the adults believe that we think that, what they think that we need, right? But we want to base this program off of what we know the youth need by asking them. We don't know what they need unless we ask them. So the Youth Council is to really center the youth voice and knowing that we are not going to do anything about them without them, period.
In 2025, Buffalo Futures found its permanent home under the Community Action Organization of Western New York, a trusted anchor in Buffalo's neighborhoods for 6 decades.
The significance of Buffalo Futures joining Community Action Organization is the youth will have access to every single service that we currently provide. So if the youth, as they are pursuing employment and training and opportunities, if they need additional resources, we have it right at our fingertip. So if they need housing assistance, they'll be able to access it right here as a single point of access from CAO. If they need childcare, they can enroll their child. They will have priority for enrollment for Head Start, early Head Start. If they need food, emergency food, we have a food pantry, we have distributions, we have medication-assisted treatment if that is one of the things that is needed. But the beauty of it is that it is a holistic approach to youth workforce development.